Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. This is video number 6 in the series of my tags finding a home in a Journal of Stitchery. So it's been just lovely how two projects have come together. Our Journal of Stitchery that we're doing with the Roxy Creations ladies, Sarah and Rachel, and Mother Juju. And also many of us have done the Anne Brooks tags, the 52 tags. And so using a bit of guidance from Rachel, I've created a journal for all of the tags. So in video number 5, which has been just posted a week or so ago, you would have seen that I have 4 tags left that I'm finding homes for after having created my actual journal holding the majority of them. So in amongst the signatures, I've just got some empty pages to create a slow stitch piece to sort of change the rhythm of the book. So it goes from lots of tags to a panel that I've created sort of under the guidance of the Roxy Stitchery project. And birds popped up for the month of May, so it was perfect timing to grab my tag that I did that was all about little threads, and I had actually created a bird's nest out of all of those threads left from stitching, and Anne had us sort of do something. So I created the nest, and using a picture of a bird, I created my tag. So now this spare tag has become a journal of a piece of slow stitch, is the best words to describe it, which will go into my journal. So in the last video, I showed you my thoughts with about 4 tags and all the bits and elements that I sort of put together. So I did stay fairly true to the plan. One thing I did change, but is the big doily that was going to sit here. I ended up feeling like it was quite overpowering, and it's now down here at the bottom, and I sort of folded it not quite in halves but in thirds to sort of shorten it up and to bulk up the embroidery here. So you'll see there's the edge there of the doily. If that was to fold out, that would be the circle. So I sort of folded it over and then started the process of embellishing. So I did do my tree. And it was perfect timing too, because I went away to Melbourne for a weekend, had a friend's birthday party. So I took some embroidery with me that I could just sit, and everyone was chatting and we were waiting for the party to start. So it was a perfect time just to do some stitching. So I did the background in Melbourne, and it was the same plan as video number 5. And all I did was lots of burrow stitch, securing everything down. I didn't have to think while we chatted. And then I had a panel of floral at the bottom here, which was from this fabric. And then up through here, I just did heaps of seed stitch. So I'll just bring that up to the camera, and you can see all of the seed stitch, the burrow stitch, if you look through to the background. So when I came back from 2-3 days in Melbourne, the background was secure. And while I was there, I was actually staying in the Dandenong Ranges at our friend's place, and they have these beautiful, beautiful big trees that are like huge. Not so beautiful when they were falling around them in a recent storm, which was pretty scary. It's like 2,000 trees dropped on the one side of the Dandenong Range, and just, oh, so close and perilous for everyone. Terrible to sort of live through. I think they were laying low in their house, sheltering from like 9 o'clock at night till 9 in the morning. And these huge, big trees, these big gums were just dropping due to this wild storm that come over the region. So I'm sitting there stitching, looking at these gorgeous forest around me, or what was left. And it just gave me really good inspiration for my branches. And I noticed that these trees had this dangly bark hanging off of them. So that's sort of how that came to be. And that piece of lace, it was like the big branch would be up into the sky with this real ratty looking bark hanging off of the branch. So I thought, well, I had a little bit of lace with me, and sort of that's how those 2 pieces of lace came to be. Now, when I originally placed the fabric across the bottom here, my plan was to embroider the pink flower that is in this fabric. and then the little white flower. And then as I sort of started embellishing and adding things, they were in the wrong spot. So the white flowers were okay. That one, that one, that one, that one, and that one are on the fabric. But the pink ones were just in the wrong spot. They just didn't complement my creation across the bottom. So I ended up cutting around some additional pink flowers and using some art glitter glue. I just put a little drizzle, I flipped it over, put a little drizzle around the outer edge, and that secured it from fraying. And then while it was still tacky, I stuck it down and I popped them down where they were more suited to my design. And that sometimes happens. You can have a beautiful piece of fabric and the print you've got plans to embroider, but they're just not in the right spot. So don't be afraid to cut some additional flowers out and position them around. Like the little white ones, they were great down here, but I wanted a bit of a pop of colour up the top here. So I cut out a white one and a pink one. So if I bring it up to the camera, you can see the outer edge around the flowers. So that allowed me to drift the imagery up to the top of the tree. And then as you can see here, I started then layering in, so collaging in other elements. So I had some lace that I cut the little leaves out of, the little flowers. These were some store-bought little hemp or hessian daisies with a diamante in the center, and they've got like a little resiny plastic backing so that they won't fray. So I stitched them down, a little piece of doily, then another little flower, another little branch, and just sort of built this little cluster up. That little flower and branch, I added a couple to the top of the tag, and it sort of just merges it all together. It's about blending this piece into the background. I then also added a couple little sprigs of that lace there. I'll see if I can find the lace I'm talking about. I did show it in the last video. Here it is. It was off of a placemat, just this little edge. So I just snipped away, took a flower, took a branch, took a flower, and just poked them in around, and it just blended everything together. So at the bottom of the tag, I added, there's a little flower, little branch, another little branch, and a button. And then this piece of lace here was also extra, but everything else on the tag was from when I created it in the Anne project. I then added this piece of old lace here, and then across the bottom, as I mentioned before, the white daisies were all in the right spot, but the pink ones weren't. So they've been added in, the three of those, and embroidered. So there's little French knots in the center, some pistol stitch used to create stamens, and then using my Appleton wool, I did the dark pink, the light pink, and then some little French knots in the chocolate, colonial knots, sorry, in chocolate in the center. And then once again started layering. So you can see there's a little sprig, little daisy, some buttons, some random little soft yellow beads, dark yellow beads in the center of the white daisies as like little stamens, and just worked my way across the front of the piece. And I left like little branches in the air, like it's tacked down at the base, but I've left him sort of flapping, and that's created a 3D effect. You see how if I turn it sideways, the pink flower is in the background and the little white one, and then this one is on top, and then this lace. So it looks like there's nearly, well, I've created a foreground going back into the tree. Now, what else did I do across here? I had two of these little guys, so I've popped them into position just to sort of add a little texture and something different. There's a piece of lace here added just to give the bottom of my panel a bit of a decorative finish. And then this little guy at the top here, that piece there, I used two others, tucking one in here, and once again just tack down the center and let it all flip-flop around, and then another one on this corner, sort of just to so that my bottom of my piece had all this interest across the front. Now, what else did I do? I think that's probably about it. It was really about when I thought I was finished, I was like, no, there must be something else I can tuck in. So that's when I just started gathering little elements and just poking them in around the piece to create this depth. My band-aids in the way. I really jabbed myself a few times. I never usually jab myself, but I'm very weary at the moment, very tired. And I this morning put a needle down in my nail, and then I ended up jabbing my finger about an hour ago. It was just like, I probably just need to put the needlework down because I sustained a few injuries with this one. Usually I'm pretty good, but no, this one got me. Must be tired. One other comment I'd make is I had plans on using this orange and creating the center of these little white flowers with a stamen or something, and I did little loops and it just didn't look right. It was like, as you can see, it just didn't blend, and I really like what beads do in the way of sparkle. So I think I did that flower there, and I actually cut it all out and changed it over to the little yellow beads. So I still got my orangey yellow tone that I was looking for as the stamen, but it just is a lot more, I guess, softer, more gentle on the eye. It's like all I could see was this thread. So if there's any advice I can offer is, if you're thinking of doing some embroidery, I did the white flower, added the yellow stamen, I then did the pink flower, then I moved on to something else. And if your eye keeps going back to something and you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure about that, just cut it out. And that yellow stamen there, that's was exactly what was happening. It was just not right. So I cut it out. A day later, I put the beads in and I'm really happy with it. I feel like it sort of blends as a piece. Okay, so I think that's about all I had to mention on my panel. I've put my initials on it, which is a good sign that I'm walking away. I'm putting down my needle. They're just those little laundry tags. If you type into Etsy vintage laundry tags, you may be lucky enough to find someone that has your initials, and they're really great for signing your work. So that piece is now signed, and even if you can't get some laundry tags, just stitch your initials or your name on anything you do, because you never know where our embroidery is going to end up. And in the future, sign your work. Anything you do, just stitch your initials or a date and your name, just something. If a piece is signed, you'd be surprised at how much more value, I guess, it adds to it, because now they can link it to someone in the family that they were unsure who may have made it. So don't be afraid to sign your work. It's really important. Painters do, and you are painting with fabric and thread. Okay, I'll stop rambling on now. This needs to find a home, so I'm going to grab my big journal. I'll just lean through the camera here and grab my book. Thank you to the Roxy girls for giving me the courage to create a big journal for all of my tags. I just love it. So now, because my math is hopeless, I had these spare tags. If you watch the very first video, you'll watch me plan this all out, and I can't count for the life of myself. So I ended up making a bit of a boo-boo, but that boo-boo has allowed me to stitch in this signature that is ready to take some additional stitching. And I think it'll be lovely to have the Roxy project drifting through it as well. So that is where my piece is going to go. I will tack that down to that page, and that tag has now found its home, and it's I just love it. I think it's great. So my next tag will be in this spot here, and then as I go a little bit further along, I'll have the back panel to do as well as something for the front panel. So yeah, love it, love it. Thank you, ladies, for giving us the courage to create a journal for other projects, because it's all connected and we've all been on this journey for some time, and those Roxy girls have sort of given us the glue to bring it all together. And, you know, we've all got embroidery sitting in our cupboards that we may have done when we were young kids learning to sew, or inherited pieces these journals are just a beautiful place to keep all of our treasures. So thank you very much, and in the next coming weeks I will post another video as I create another background for a tag. And I guess I've been ignoring my owl. This is my piece for May for the Roxy Creations, and I've done all the work around the outer edge. I still have a little piece sitting here that may or may not find a home, and it's time to embroider my owl, the bird, the fancy bird, and I just couldn't get away from this piece. So I'm pleased that this is done and got its home and out of the way. So now I can get back to this one and work out how I'm going to embellish my owl. And this is my, official piece for the May Fancy Birds prompt. I don't know where that's going to go. I might do my owl and then maybe it'll create a 3D effect. I don't know. This is the next one. I can't wait. I've been looking at it thinking, hurry up and finish that tag so that I could get back to this one. Okay, everyone, stay safe, and I will see you all shortly. And I guess my next video will be my little owl for the month of May. Okay, bye.